What do a speaking coach, a strategy consultant, and a managing advisor have in common? Sounds like the start of a bad joke, right? But honestly, it's all about finding out what people really do in their jobs. The stories, the struggles, the coffee breaks, the real stuff you won't find in a job title.
Welcome to a space where we sit down with people from all kinds of careers, have a laugh, and dive into what makes their work meaningful. Whether you're looking to learn something new or just here for a good story, let us be your guide. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Charlie.
And let's get Casually Pro! Yay! Wow, today we are sitting with David Orban. David, with more than 35 years of experience in tech, you saw cycles of rise and decline of artificial intelligence in the past, which puts you in a unique position to understand what's happening today. You've been the CEO of multiple tech companies in the past 30 years. Now you are at the forefront of innovation in blockchain and AI as managing advisor at Beyond Enterprises. We met last year in Lisbon during the Web Summit. We talked about the future, about the chance we have of being alive at this particular epoch. We talked about suffering and about brain digitalization. To be honest, David, this was one of the most incredible discussions that I had in my entire life, and I'm so grateful for it. You recently published a paper called Master Plan 4, How to Create a Sustainable Multiplanetary Civilization Through Interplanetary AI, starting with planet Mars. It's hard to beat that. Wow. I'm so happy to be here with you today to talk about it. But before we dig into that, can you please start by telling us who you are, what you do, and how you got to do what you do?
Thank you, Jeff and Charlie, for having me. And if you ask my children or maybe even my wife the same question, they have a hard time answering. But what I do is I work with startups, with companies, with projects, and I look at how to help them achieve their goals. My background is in technology. So I look at how technology can help them, how they can be supercharged, superpowered. Artificial intelligence is certainly one of these, but I also love blockchain technology. And I look at technology in general as a force of transformation and a force of improving the human condition. I believe that we have been formed by technology to become what we are. The opportunities that we have in front of us are still unfolding. Too many people are pessimistic. They see, because maybe they follow the newspapers, the television programs that day in, day out tell them how terrible things are. And they don't realize that if they have the opportunity of reading the newspaper or following the television program, or if they have a smartphone and they feverishly scroll through various feeds on their device, well, by very definition, they live an incredibly powerful life with every opportunity in front of them. Their pessimism is completely unjustified because they have in their hands the tools to improve the lives of their community, to address the challenges that they can see every day, and as a consequence, both acquire and maintain purpose and dignity in this century of ours.
I I could not be more on board with the idea of how technology is a tool. And it's, I think so many people are afraid of it because of the duality, the general nature of tools, right? I mean, you can have a hammer that could very easily build a house for you, but just as easily be used by a bad actor to bash you over the head. But the reality is this growth and this exponential value of application of what we have now that is infinite knowledge into something that can create a more, I guess, tactical and strategic value for humankind as a whole uh, is new. And I can't help but imagine this is how my parents must have felt like during the rise of the internet, right? Back in the day when information was all just hyper uh localized in geographical location. Like you had to go to your local library and fill out a card and find the book about the thing, and then now everything is in a box in your study at home. It feels strange. And now it's kind of like the next evolution, right? We have access to all this information, but how do we apply it? I think the answer is AI, right? Instead of having to trudge through a million articles or a bunch of different like technical manuals over how to do something and how to collate it, we can more easily, I guess, decipher the value from what we're trying to find using these agentic tools. But you know, kind of going to the nature of how you think things are changing and why. Um, your background is in these cycles of technology and the kind of changes that you see. Maybe they're I guess similar in a sense from one another, but this one feels particularly impactful. Do you think it's just because of the kind of the ability to disseminate information more quickly? Or do you think there's something particularly special about AI that we are now just getting access to as the human race is kind of like enveloping it in our day to day? What do you think is the cause for so much, I guess, hoopla over AI?
I wrote a book whose title is Something New with a question mark. And it is about AI and its impact in the world, answering the question in the positive, uh, trying to illustrate that AI is indeed something fundamentally new in the world. And it is, in my opinion, a sufficiently foundational novelty that we could identify it as a phase transformation, a little bit like when life arose on planet Earth. Its chemistry, its processes, its entire way of evolving changed because of life. And today, the biosphere is regulating to a large degree processes on the planet, as opposed, for example, to Mars, that not possessing life uh, goes through thermodynamic cycles blindly without any ability of applying those processes of feedback that allow life uh, on Earth to maintain and support itself. Well, similarly, now we are entering in a new phase where there will be new abilities and new opportunities. And as we come to understand them more deeply and analyze them more efficiently, looking back, it will seem to us as if we were living and building societies and the economy and addressing our problems while blind. And only because AI is now a deep force in allowing us to analyze and address the challenges of our economy and society, we realize how powerful it is, and we are grateful for it to enable us to live with our eyes open. And this is a pretty extreme position, and not necessarily everyone shares it, but it also has certain important consequences in how we evaluate the way that AI should be developed, should be rolled out, should be made an integral part of how of what we do and how we do it. So the impression that I have is that all of us are more or less at the same level if we compare the magnitude of learning, acclimating, understanding deeply that is in front of us. It matters to some degree if you are a specialist or if you are just a casual user. But let's talk about, for example, heads of companies in manufacturing or the services or in the financial sector. Let's talk about regulators, politicians, decision makers in local or central governments. Well, it is very unlikely that they are AI specialists, but their world and their surroundings and the way that they conduct business or make decisions is going to be profoundly transformed by AI if it is not already in the process of becoming transformed. And they urgently must familiarize themselves in as many different ways as possible, in as direct ways as possible, getting their hands dirty in order to start to understand the consequences.
So we need to get into it and to use it, because the world change can change day by day in this time. David, there is something that I love about you. It's your optimism, and it's an optimism of a man who has an enormous career behind him, who's also the father of, if I remember correctly, 4 children. So it's not at all the type of young and naive optimism that I could be guilty of. This is entirely different. So when you tell me that pessimism is completely unjustified, as you said in the beginning, this is something that really resonates. The world change very fast, and it's easy to take all our effort, all our time to extinguish fires. But if we want to grow, if we want to grow a company, we cannot just extinguish fire. We need to have a long-term strategic vision. If we want to grow as a person, we need to do more than extinguishing the fires. We need to have a plan. We need to see beyond. We need a long-term strategic plan. Humanity, if we want to grow as a civilization, we need to do more than extinguishing fires. We need to have a long-term strategic plan. And that's what I would like to talk about now, David. This master plan that you wrote seems to be this kind of long-term strategic vision that we need as human. We need hope that there is something great in the future. In last century, there were hope. Oh, the flying cars, the medicine, but today everything seems to be, if we watch only the media, seems to be about problems, seems to be about decline, and it's hard to get above this. So, can you tell us a little bit about what's this long-term strategic vision that you thought about?
So the basis of our ability to implement our plans, to turn our dreams into reality, is energy. Without having the ability to apply energy in useful forms for changing the material world around us, we would maybe have a sliver of time available to philosophize about what could be. And when we read some work of ancient Greek philosophers, we are amazed at how powerful their dreams could be, while at the same time we realize that they lived in what today we would consider material poverty. So a big difference between 3,000 years ago and today is that a lot more people have the opportunity to dream and then transform those dreams into concrete plans and go ahead with those plans. If we don't increase the available energy that we have in order to transform the material world, then many of these dreams we are dreaming today will not transform into practical action, and we will not find out whether we were right or wrong about them. But we are in the process of doing that. After the age of animal power, where together with our muscles, horses and cows enabled us to apply biological power, muscle power to move things around, chop wood, build bricks, and build houses. We went through very rapidly over the past couple centuries the age of carbon and fossil fuels in general, oil, the internal combustion engine, and the ability to mechanize and to some degree automate a lot of the processes that really supported our civilization. Now we are in the process of a new important shift. We are electrifying as much as can be electrified in our current economy, and we are starting to generate electric power that is not limited by how much we can extract in oil or carbon from the ground. Solar power, which is accelerating in availability as we install more and more solar panels, together with batteries that smooth out the unavailability of the sun during the night, both becoming cheaper at an exponential rate, and as a consequence being installed in ever larger numbers, are in the process of making available, let's say, 10 times as much energy as was available in the 20th century, if we only want it. And yes, I am among those people who want it, because I have plans, I have dreams, and I want to see those dreams turned into plans and then tested out to be found um, possible, or which is more likely to be tested and then iteratively reach the goals, but in a different path, or maybe in many cases too soon, or just the wrong direction, which is fine as well. And one of these dreams is to travel in space, is to touch down on Mars, is to open new frontiers for millions and possibly billions of people to be able to say, yes, I want to be part of a new adventure. I want to explore, I want to learn, I want to know. And Master Plan 4 is a provocation. Certainly, I don't possess the engineering credentials or the financial means to make it possible concretely, but I also don't possess the modesty of not talking about it, because that is the way that the world changes. For people who have the courage of their ideas to put them out and to have other people rise up and corral around them to go forth and turn those ideas into reality. So exactly how we will colonize Mars and how we will deliver the infrastructure that is needed in order to make the Mars colony viable is an open question. There are millions of very important, vital details to establish. And one of the questions, after we know how to travel reliably to Mars, after we know how to start building a civilization there, is what are we going to do exactly? What will Mars be for? And Master Plan 4 gives one answer that may be not the only one, but I believe could be part of the answer. And it is to establish a terawatt scale AI data center that will produce AI tokens, intelligence that can be consumed on Mars, or, as it is more likely, exported to Earth in large part, and then consumed by Earth, which will pay for it, and it will be, at least in part, the reason for the Martian colony to exist, and the financial means through which the Martian colony will be able to support itself.
I have so many thoughts over this. It's scratching all of the science fiction itches that I think I grew up with in my life. One in particular that I love talking about is Star Trek. Because it is the ideal utopia of validating these thoughts of unification of a species, really, to combat the economic realities of advancing science to the point where it becomes a tool for exploration and a tool for the betterment of maybe not even just us, but anything or anyone we find along the way. But the really interesting part that I think comes with this plan overall um, is not so much the technicality, believe it or not, because the really cool thing about humans is that we tend to find the most impossible and improbable problems in dreams and say, okay, uh, what if we tried this? And then we make something entirely new that the world has never seen and will never kind of see coming. You know, the way that the Wright brothers looked up at the sky, saw birds and thought to themselves like, okay, they can do it. Why can't we? And they made a plane, right? Um, I'm sure that is the equivalent of what we're going to see with, interstellar travel, or the colonization of Mars. I mean, we are already dreaming about it. So the technical aspect of it is just a matter of resources in the back end. But that's really what I wanted to get down to. The impressive part of this plan isn't so much the technicality of it. It is the process in which people have to change to achieve it. What do I mean by that? I mean, to colonize Mars, to create this kind of injection of value into a system that has no, I would say, like, short-term benefit, but has a long-term uh, kind of value attached to it for the human race, as a whole. We have to come together and make that decision, not just as individual entities, not just as countries, but really as a species, and say, okay, we are going to launch a lot of our resources into something that is going to uh, fundamentally change the way that we do everything from now on. Um, because, at least as far as I know, uh, I don't think there's a single country that can do something as massive as colonize Mars by itself. Nor would I think they want to, right? Um, so this is really, and going back to my original point here, talking about Star Trek, um, that's what they did, right? They came together as an entire planet and said, okay, let's get rid of money. Let's get rid of borders. We're going to be one unified entity and then use our resources, pull our resources together to go into this exploration, create this essentially utopia of technology to better and further the goals of human race, or of the human race as a whole. But then, of course, they ran into aliens and all the fun sci-fi tropes here. But um, that is what you are predicting, what you are thinking about, what you are dreaming about, essentially, is not just a technical advancement for humans, but a social advancement at the level that we've never seen before. How do you see us coming together? How do you imagine the world is going to say, okay, we are now going to pull together our resources to turn this incredible resource, which is the planet right next to us, into something that we can use?
One of my more provocative positions is that technology makes us better humans than we could be without. Let me give you an example. I already mentioned ancient Greek philosophers. Well, I may be wrong because I'm not a specialist in studying the totality of their works, but I don't think a lot of them, potentially none of them, found anything strange in the universal condition prevailing in their times of possessing other human beings. It was the norm. Slavery was seen as not only natural, but even just. For example, when they waged the war, the losing part would become slaves or dead. And as much as we admire the various conclusions they came to about human morality, very few people stop and ask themselves if they were such geniuses, towering over thousands of years with their analysis of the human condition and how to lead a just life. How come they didn't come to the conclusion that slavery is wrong and was always wrong? It is even worse. Spartacus is a famous slave who rebelled together with others, and they fought and won and fought and won and then lost and were killed. And maybe there were hundreds of other slave rebellions that we forgot about, we have never heard of, but we heard of Spartacus. Now imagine Spartacus winning, conquering a part of what today we call the Italian peninsula, being able to keep the Roman legions out, and already the first night of the victory, around the fire, looking at each other and asking who the next day would end up not playing, unfortunately, but literally being the slave. Because even Spartacus, who fought against slavery and won in this mental image that we are building, couldn't imagine a world without slavery. But we today are living in a world without slavery. And those that immediately object, oh, that is not true, there are so many slaves today. Yes, and that is an unfortunate criminal reality, but slavery is illegal. We rose to the challenge of imagining and designing and implementing a framework to live together in a society where we could recognize and implement what was needed for slavery to be illegal. Now, the reason this was possible is not because we are better people. We are the same people. Our brains, our morality didn't change. What changed is that technology made it possible because slaves are worse if you want to, I don't know, build a house than the machines that today we use to build a house. And if you pay someone to use the machines with professional skill and pride in their work, they will do a better job faster and cheaper than not if you have to use violence and primitive tools for slaves to build a house. And the consequence, to go back to your question about what is going to be our StarTech future, is to ask ourselves, what are the blind spots that we have today that will appear to be incredibly barbaric and unforgivably primitive in the eyes of those who grow up in this future society that became radically better in the opportunities that it gives to everyone thanks to improving technology? And I can give you a couple of examples. One, we are killing and eating billions of sentient beings every day. And I am talking about the pigs, and I'm talking about the cows. And anyone who has a dog realizes that the dog dreams, that the dog thinks, the dog actually looks at you and wonders, what are you thinking, so that they can shape their behavior based on what you are thinking, and tries to influence you, either going together on a walk or giving them a little treat or whatever it is. And pigs are cognitively at least equivalent, if not superior, to the dogs. But pigs are delicious to eat. And we have no qualms about doing that every day. And so one of the achievements of a future society will be twofold. One, a lot of people will become vegan or vegetarian. Two, we will develop scalable, cultivated meat production, aka 3D printing meat, aka precision agriculture. There are many names to the process, without having to raise and kill an animal. That's one. The second example, a lot of people are accusing artificial intelligence of making changes in society that will lead to a lot of people, or potentially everyone, losing their jobs. Yes, let's hope so. For the past 100 years, maybe 200, just to make a round number, generation after generation has been educated, inculcated, hopelessly convinced that the way they build purpose and dignity in their lives is to sit in an office 8 hours a day, doing a stultifying job, earning money that they spend, earning always just the right amount so that they are sufficiently indebted, but they can hardly get ahead, or do the same, but rather than an office job, to do it in a factory job. Blue collar, white collar, no difference. But that is completely wrong. That is not how a dignified human being should live their life. It has been the social consequence of an economic reality that was in turn the consequence of a technological baseline, and then everyone adopted it and structured their lives around it, and then started to teach it to their children as if it were a law of nature. But it is not. And when society, with 10 times as much energy available, powerful AIs, and diligent and close to indestructible humanoid robots, is able to analyze the consequences of what is possible, we will come to the conclusion that not having a job is just great. And we will come to the conclusion that just as you don't ask a newborn child to take a tally of how many times he or she is drawing a breath, so that by the time they are grown up, you can ask them how they are going to pay for those breaths they took, because we take air for granted and available for everyone. The same way, we will create a world of abundance, where what we today believe is scarce and people have to get in debt in order to uh, um, make it available to them, will be taken for granted, whether it is food, whether it is shelter, whether it is healthcare, whether it is education, and so on. And people will be able to ask themselves, okay, now, what are the degrees of freedom that I can take advantage of? What are the challenges that I am passionate about? How can I design my life so that it is exhilarating because I know I am making a positive impact in the world and I'm doing it every day with a purpose that if I were a white collar or blue collar slave, as if it were in my job every day, I could never achieve.
It's astounding because I constantly think about the moral intrepidations of how we kind of live life. And I agree with you. I think one of the biggest ethical quandaries that we have is um not just the value that we assign to our positions as people, whether that's, a job or a calling, but how we access them. And the reality is, there are a lot of people who make this trade-off of living a comfortable life, but not pursuing something that they are either naturally gifted in or naturally receptive to the curiosity of that area. Um, I, for example, tell everyone that I meet that, if life were fair and I didn't have to pay bills, all I would do is write books and study physics. And the concept to me just it seemed like a joke and it seemed, funny at the time. But the more I think about it, the more I imagine a world where that's all I had to do or all I wanted to do. Um, and it was possible. What if I was the next Einstein? I don't think I am, don't get me wrong. But what if someone out there who is working a construction job and they're miserable and they just, they're just trying to feed their families, but they, if given the decade, 2 decades of medical knowledge because they, grew up watching House or something and wanted to become a doctor, what if they were able to cure cancer? And what if you could replicate that thousands, millions, billions of times if we're looking at the scale of humanity? How many advancements would we see, not just because of the introduction of this technology, but the ability to have the freedom to pursue what you would consider a calling? I think that is the next stage, right? Of kind of societal evolution, because it like allows us to pursue advancement not for the sake of survival, but advancement for the sake of really just the sake of advancement, right? Um, and these are incredible concepts that tie back to like the ethical nature of AI. Right now, we're just using it as a tool to kind of automate systems that weren't automatable before. But when we look at how much that could free up our lives, I think the big issue that we have is like, okay, we attach a monetary value to what it takes away because we're still using money. And I think money is the natural um kind of consequence of a system where things aren't uh uh efficient enough, optimized enough, right? The reason that we have economies, the reason that we have these, scales of balance using kind of imaginary numbers is because we can't manage all of the things that are going on um, around us efficiently enough. Uh, and I think AI is a really cool tool to do that. Imagine if we had instead of a person running, how much, um, wood is being produced in a factory for, buildings being created, and using it based on a monetary value of, okay, where's the supply for these, wood planks? Where's the demand for them? If we just had that all calculated down to a really finite system that is repeatable year after year, decade after decade, to the point where we, again, like you said, we don't count the breadths of air that we do, to see, okay, how can we evaluate that? We just say, okay, we breathe. That's it. Okay, we have resources. We have, the sheets of metal. We have wood. We have, houses. We have, we don't think, we just, they are there. And I think one of the main ways that we can do that is taking it out of the hands of, very limited creatures that we are as humans, and kind of giving the reins of, maybe not like full control, but at least the calculation of the hard part, which is, how do we value this? How do we, or how can we manage these resources into a system, or a thing that can do it way better than we ever could imagine doing. Um, and then we just give up money as a whole. I think that's, for me, that's my ideal life, where we have, similarly to what you said, we have just things, they exist. We don't have to, I don't have to go, on Amazon and buy a dehumidifier. I can just say, hey, I need a dehumidifier, and it gets sent to me, and that's it. There's no exchange of money or value, because we have the resources to optimize things so that it makes sense to just have them. And then from there, we can expand on things that matter to us as a species. We can cure cancer. We can, go to the stars. We can, find a unifying theory. There are so many doors that are left locked because we have to force ourselves, um, to live a life where we survive instead of thrive. Uh, so I think that's fascinating, and you are making me, like, also chat, like, you are challenging my ethics with thinking about how pigs are both delicious and the mental equivalent of dogs. That hurt me. So I'm praying for 3D printed meat, sooner than later. Um, I I think I have just one more question, and for me, this is a really kind of more to the point of you as a person, as opposed to, um your ideas and beliefs of the future here. I'm a sucker for a story. I really, really enjoy knowing not just what people do, but why do they do it? What could you tell us about what got you so interested in the future, as opposed to just optimizing and making a tactical plan for, uh I guess, the world that you currently live in? I mean, you do both, but it seems as though you speak so passionately about these beautiful and wonderful things that you want for the future. What led you there?
I as Jeff already said, an optimist, and I think that a lot of that is due to biology, genetics, nature rather than nurture. Eh, and I'm also a very curious person that, again, I believe, due to my makeup, have a fairly high tolerance for risk. And so, as a consequence, I am willing to pursue a fair degree of risk in order to understand if my ideas are um, have any chance of becoming reality, if they make sense, to test them out. And this is called entrepreneurship, to make it simple. And I hope that more and more people will embrace risk taking in a safe environment where they are encouraged to find out if their ideas make sense and test them, facing reality and then maybe shaping reality, as opposed to a world that either tells them, stay in your place, stay in your lane, this is what your father did, this is what you must do, and your son must not aspire to anything else, or worse, uh, punishes them for having taken the risks. That if they are turning out to be the right kind of risks, and if we expand our domain of knowledge through science or technology, if we improve our economy, then they are celebrated. But if they lose because they were wrong, they are destroyed. And the trend is in the right direction, because in the Middle Ages, there was something called debtor's prison. You opened a tavern, you and your wife said, hey, yes, we should do this because a lot of people come by and they will stop here and we will host them and we will dine them and then it will be great. And turned out that for whatever reason, people, instead of going by that building, went a few buildings down, and the tavern didn't work out, but they owed others money. They couldn't pay it back, and the head of the family would go to prison and very likely would die in prison as a consequence. It wasn't a fun place to be in prison, to be in debtor's prison in the Middle Ages. And as a consequence, very few people wanted to be entrepreneurial. Oh, let's open a tavern. Very few people. It took a long time to work out that, yes, it would make sense maybe even to finance the crazy ideas these people came up with. And that is how um, joint stock companies were born that would finance the most dangerous expeditions of the time, bringing spices back from the Far East that were so precious that would make everyone rich, with just one ship being able to come back, even if the others were lost. And then the investor class was born, people who would evaluate and manage risk in order to find who are those that can actually turn ideas into reality, create new technologies, apply new technologies, business model, whatever they are. And we spent now the past 40 years trying to emulate how Silicon Valley did it, and every year there is a new region in the world where politicians declare, oh, we will be the next Silicon Valley, with little success. But one of the consequences of the world of abundance that energy and AI will bring is that not only we will lose the shackles of the assumption that our current social contract based on jobs is today imposing on us, but we will also discover that the entrepreneurial mindset is something that to some degree everyone can embrace. And they don't need to build what today we call the Silicon Valley unicorn. That is fine. Someone can do that, or a lot of people can do that. But if everyone can have the freedom to run the risk, to look around themselves and say, wow, this thing is wrong. It causes a lot of problems to a lot of people. I want to find a solution to that thing. And then do it that can happen at any scale. It can be curing cancer, and then, yes, the lives of billions of people will change forever. But it can be something as simple as cleaning up your um, little part of town so that it is beautiful and plant flowers rather than live in between trash. And that is something that is already available on a theoretical basis to a lot of people, because there are a lot of places in the world that are full of trash and there's no need for that. And people, for some reason, accept it, or they even say, oh, it's not my problem, someone else's problem. Or there are places where it is illegal to plant flowers, even if it is where you live. But the city council decided that it is against the law and they will fine you or even imprison you if you want to make your little part of town nicer. So I think that fundamental question is, with every technology, is it going to increase the degrees of freedom that you enjoy in order to design a life of purpose and dignity? And I believe that AI is such a technology, and that our trajectory, both as individuals as well as human civilization, is going to change as a consequence, as we embrace it, as we apply it, as we grow and change together with it.
Wow, what you just said, David, it reminds me the book Why Nations Fail. It's a bestseller that explains why some of the countries are rich while others are not. And while you might think that it's the geography or the history, the thesis of this book, it's that countries that became rich are those with political stability and economic opportunities. So that's what happened when you have a place where people feel safer, then they create riches. Now, you said that it would be so nice if people could embrace more risk. But obviously, you also said that if you want to take more risk, you need a certain level of stability, a certain level of freedom. And that echoes to my own experience. Whenever in my life I started a business, it was times where I had certain money available that I knew that I had at least a few months or year to explore, maybe to fail. So you need this sensation of stability, at least for the short or for the middle term. If we had a society where people would feel safer, even safer, yeah, pretty sure that they would take those risks and they would create their things and they would follow their calling or their passion or their purpose. It also echoes to what you said before. In the past, during the antiquity and all periods in history, even the geniuses couldn't see some of the things that now feel completely obvious. It means that whatever you do, you will see only as far as the next mountain. But if you want to see beyond, you need to climb this mountain. So this makes so much sense, and it shows that by increasing how people feel safe today, increasing their freedom, they will be able to climb this mountain themselves, create the new riches of tomorrow, and then they will see things that we are not even today able to see. And this is a beautiful, beautiful vision, and it's based on principles that we can see in many areas, many domains. David, the question I would like to ask you is it's a coach question. It's very coachy feeling to it. What's the next step to get farther? What would be the What will be the next practical step? Maybe to realize
And,
the master plan, or just to go towards this future.
and I like questions that go on the meta level. And I would shift your question on the meta level by, instead of giving answer to yours, inviting the people listening to ask themselves the question, what is the next step? And what would I do if I could believe that a better world is possible? What would I do if I believed that AI is a force that can multiply human potential? What would I do if the dreams of the 21st century could be powerful and we had the ability to turn them into reality? And I would like to invite our listeners to, yes, dream ambitious, morally challenging, and practically complex dreams, but also to take simple and humble first steps. Listening to a podcast is fine, but getting your hands dirty with the technology is so much better. So after listening to this podcast, if you spend too much time listening rather than doing, go and do something. It can be something very little. Have you heard that image generator AIs are stealing art? Okay, that is an important accusation. Try an image generator program and see if you can generate something unique and beautiful. Have you heard that uh, ChatGPT can make mistakes and invent things? Test it, push it, try to unsettle the model itself. Be kind with it, because we have to learn to coexist with ever more powerful AIs and robots. Don't treat it badly, but don't accept as necessary true statements anything that it will tell you. Whatever it is that you have been thinking about but you didn't do, take a step toward it and tell your friends and tell your family, by the way, you remember me as someone sedate or someone who didn't take risks, and tomorrow you will be surprised because I will take some risk that you didn't expect me to take. Don't freak out, don't worry. I am conscious about it. I am willful about it. I am doing it with my eyes open because I want to build a world where I can do it, and I want to share the world with you where you can look at me and be inspired to do it in your turn.
Beautiful way to put the question to the listeners. I really I really love it. I really love it. What will you listen to this can do? What are the next little and humble steps?
And you know what? Along those lines, though, because we're kind of asking our listeners to do something, but you know, Jeff and I created this podcast because we wanted to offer them something different than just kind of like a comprehensive history of someone's background. Because I mean, that's great, but honestly, at the end of the day, they need to be able to do something with it. And along those lines, we ask all of our guests to help contribute to that mission uh, through one simple thing. David, I'd like to know what's one skill that someone out there right now listening wondering about the future, dreaming about maybe doing what you do or something similar, eh, what's one skill that has gotten you to where you are today that someone out there can start practicing right now?
Reading and writing. And too many people are training themselves to be excessively brief, and some concepts cannot be compressed, or at least not yet, in a length of 100 or 200 characters. Some concepts need a deeper attention than 30 seconds. Your podcast that lasts an hour is witness to the fact that there are people who are able to sustain their attention for an hour or longer. But it is important to also train oneself to share the ideas. And a lot of people are trained not to do that. And it is an easy kind of risk taking again. Because if you start and build an idea that you have never discussed with anyone and spend money that you have or you have been given by an investor, and you try something that is completely fresh and then you fail, it's fine. But wouldn't it have been better if you started to talk about what you want to do and then you incorporated the feedback that you received and went out with an idea that was in a better shape because of that feedback? That is only possible if you speak about the idea, if you write about the idea, if you record a video, if you share it with the world, and then you listen what they give back to you. And some people are jealous of the ideas that they have, and they are ready to sacrifice and kill the idea because they believe that it is so precious that it cannot stand a chance of being shared with anyone, because then they would lose it. And it is the kind of really tragic jealousy that some parents have towards their children, hopefully not to that extreme. But yes, just like you grow um, your family and you realize that the children step out in the world and they will leave you, at least physically, because they will live in another home and where they will build their own family, but hopefully the emotional bonds remain or even strengthen. Well, the same is with the ideas. If you don't share those ideas with the world, then they cannot get a chance of blossoming. So reading in order to form ideas, and writing or speaking about them on whatever medium, doesn't matter what, in order to give them a chance of facing the world. And then after you receive the feedback, go out and hopefully implement those ideas.
That's a very powerful idea at the time, where many people might think that, oh, I don't need to write anymore because I can use AI to write for me. And it's an idea that you follow beautifully by when you release this master plan for this big idea, and you was probably just first an idea in your mind, but you thought, how can I make it grow? Because an idea grows if you give it attention, if you start to spend time of it, if you start to reflect, and then you write, and then you share it. So that's really, to be honest, David, that's inspiring. That's really inspiring, and it make me reflect personally of some of the ideas that I have that I might have just started a little bit to share, but that I feel that there's still something that I would like to take out a little bit more, maybe with some reflection, maybe with some longer text, because this current fad of condensing and condensing and condensing while removing all the context, all the nuance, we lose everything. We lose everything, and we are left with catchy sentences that doesn't mean anything anymore, because then it's the person who reads it who have to add their own meaning, their own symbolism, their own experience in the idea. So even if they might sometimes get something out of it, most of it is lost, and the origin of the idea is lost. And that's why I love to read books, because you don't just get ideas, you get experience, you get a way of thinking. And if you condense everything, all of this will be lost. David, the question I would like to ask you now is a question that we ask all of our guests. It's the magic microphone question. And it's a difficult question. I'm not going to lie about it. You have 2 minutes to share a message with everyone on Earth. Everyone who's living today, but also everyone who will be born in the next generation. So to give you a little bit of context, I'm pretty sure there is an AI in the future. The AI will listen to this episode, they will get your message, and they will find a way to spread it to everyone, to children, to adults of all eras, all planets, all galaxies, all ways of beings, being physical and or being digital. So it's really a big, it's really a big thing. I leave you now with the pressure. What do you want to tell everyone?
Being born is a unique privilege. Being born with the ability to recognize that privilege is even more beautiful. Using that privilege to explore, to understand the world is one direction, but complementary to that direction is to endow the world with the privilege received through being born and through being conscious of having been born. Endowing the world with this privilege for a biological being like humans means to have children and to grow them into dignified human beings that are self-aware and self-possessed, and that are in turn recognizing the privilege of living and the privilege of understanding their condition. But now we are on the verge of asking ourselves, are there other ways of endowing the universe with these different degrees of privilege? The privilege of being and the privilege of recognizing the first. And if that is possible, if we will design, build, create, give birth, give rise to beings that non-biological are still sharing with us this condition, then we will have potentially made steps that will go with a speed and with a power in expanding in the universe that will literally wake up matter that has never been awoken. And that is our legacy, both as individuals and as a species, and millions or maybe billions of years in the future, people will wonder, did they know? And some of us will be proud to confirm, yes, we did know. This is an important step. This is a fundamental step. And that is our message to you.
Wow.
Incredible. Uh, uh, Thank you so much for joining us. This was really just so much to think about, so much to dream about. More importantly, um, David, where can we find you? How can we learn about your work and maybe even contribute, uh, if possible, here?
I welcome all of the listeners who feel inspired to get in touch, to share what they think, to follow me, but also interacting. I really like conversations. So I am very easy to find, davidorban.com, at David Orban, everywhere, on practically every platform, or just send me an email. And am looking forward to learn if you have been inspired by listening to this, and to keep our conversation going.
Incredible. David, thank you again for joining us. This has been a wonderful exploration of maybe not just what is going on, but what is possible. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, if you made it this far, make sure to like, subscribe, interact, send us comments. Make this something more than just a listening experience. Make this a learning experience. And more importantly, send it to a friend who needs a little bit of hope in the future. That is an incredible gift that you can give anyone. And make sure to catch Casually Pro every Wednesday. We have new and incredible guests that will hopefully, maybe, possibly change the way you think about work, life, and a combination of both in the future. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.